Welcome to Art Loves Fashion. I'm your host, Sharonda Irving. I'm an image consultant, professional developer, art curator and collector, a wife and a mom. This show, Art Loves Fashion, is about, you guessed it, art, love, and fashion. We'll be meeting new people, trying interesting things, and hopefully learning something new. Sounds kind of vague, right? That's because I want you to join me on Sundays at 5 o'clock as we take a journey of all things creative and beautiful with art, loves, fashion. Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Happy Daylight Savings Time Sunday. It's hella dark right now. So thank you for joining me again this Sunday for another edition of Art Loves Fashion, a conversation about all things creative and beautiful. And I have a very special guest with me today. Her name is Lisa Daughtry. She is the founder of Be My Keeper. She is a mental health, mental wellness advocate, and I am so excited that she is going to join me today. And this is what I'm going to do. And I didn't tell you this ahead of time, Lisa, because as I was thinking about this conversation, I think this is one of those conversations that we could probably take way more than an hour to discuss. So what I want to do is, normally I like to have my guests up first, but if you don't mind, we're going to talk about some art and fashion super quick. I want to give the whole rest of the show to discuss this conversation. So art and love is going to be smushed together today, fashion and art is going to be smushed together today so that we can give all of our time to talking with Lisa about mental health. So let's get started. All right, so we're going to do some quick transitions today. So my first topic, like I said, I'm going to merge art and fashion today. It is the day after Halloween, All Halloween. And so first things first, we all get our life and have a great time looking at the celebrities and all of their amazing costumes. So I wanted to just take a minute and just show some of the people who kind of have been breaking the internet with their internet costume or their Halloween costumes. And I think that it's important and interesting to talk about in the fashion segment, in the art segment, because shout out to whoever are the makeup artists, whoever are the fashion stylists, whoever are the creative directors of these Halloween looks, because let's be honest, the stuff that people are pulling off, the celebrities aren't doing it by themselves. And I tried to do a little bit of research to find out who were the people who did that content or helped them to create those looks, but it's kind of hard to find them. So I wanted to just do a quick run through. Up first, who kind of stole the show and who we see was Sierra. I saw her first. Sierra was killing the game with her Megan Thee Stallion look, which is funny to me because this particular look that I'm showing on the screen right now, where she has the pink hoodie and the pink bandana, that was actually kind of to me, a throwback to Cameron. So shout out to Megan Thee Stallion and shout out to Cameron and his stylist for starting that whole pink inspiration. But she did Megan Thee Stallion. She also did Nicki Minaj. I don't think I pulled up a picture for that one, but she did Cardi B. She killed the Cardi B look. Her and her son, the son posed as Offset. And also she did, her and her husband did Busta Rhymes and Janet Jackson. And when I saw the mini video of that, I cracked up laughing because her husband, Russell Wilson, was really playing the part as Busta Rhymes. Because if y'all remember how Janet Jackson had on that patent leather cat suit, Busta Rhymes was all was really giving her all the like as she was singing. So shout out to Sierra. Her Halloween costumes killed it. The other person who broke the internet and killed the game was Lil Nas X. Lil Nas X did full drag and did Nicki Minaj. And at first I didn't know who he was. And I'm looking like, who is this? But he killed it. He nailed it. Shout out to his wig stylist, his like body prosthetic stylist and all that. That looked amazing. And then I think I pulled up, there was another one. Now this particular one, I think is Sweetie. Sweetie, this was probably a throwback Halloween costume, but I pulled it up because I actually do know the stylist who styled that. And her name is Sankara. She's a Howard University alumni and stylist for Sweetie. So I definitely had to pull that up and shout her out. She did like off the deck of cards, the Joker. Her outfit was amazing. So shout out to her. And then who else did I pull up? I think that's it. So yeah, that's amazing. That red and black, honey, with that them patent leather thigh high boots, she killed that look. So I wanted to make sure that I pulled up the amazing Halloween costumes for art and fashion. And then also I would be remiss if I did not mention the girl, your girl, Beyonce had an epic second drop with Adidas. She dropped her Ivy Park collaboration on Thursday, and of course, it sold out in minutes. One of the things that I thought was interesting, because I was looking at that. I just pulled up a couple of my favorite looks. I preferred the first drop a little bit more than the second one, but I was into the caps that she had. She did looks that you can style it from head to toe. She went from hats and caps to I think we lost the feed. Hats and caps to sneakers to belt bags to sweats to sweatsuits, body outfits, and all of that. So shout out to Beyonce. Did we lose the feed?
No.
Okay, I just can't see you. All right. And one of the things that was unique about this particular drop, though, that made me want to kind of speak about it was that based on the feedback that she got from the first drop, she made some adjustments. A lot of her plus size or just not, unique sized customers were complaining. So she used what is called the Unite Fit, which is a new standard for inclusive and genderless sizing. So she kind of changed up the game a little bit by being more size inclusive. So this new line goes from triple extra small to a 4 extra large. And that, I commend her for that. Of course, somebody's going to complain about probably something. Oh, what they were saying was that every single one of the pieces didn't come in all of those sizes. But, I still give kudos for her for listening to the feedback and incorporating that. And then the other thing and it was very price friendly. The prices were from $20 to $200. So she's making fashion accessible. She's like coming out with looks for all the girls. My favorite looks was the bodysuit that I have on the screen, the track pants with the bodysuit, and I love the neon green skull cap with the like oversized shorts and the leggings. So, but I didn't get a chance to get any. So shout out to whoever had their post notifications turned on and got their drip to Beyonce's collaboration, her Ivy Park collaboration. And I don't know if you guys knew this. You probably did because the Beehive is strong. When she first came up with this concept, it was back in November in 2016. Excuse me, back in 2016, she was supposed to do a drop with a collaboration with Topshop. And then she found out about the fact that they had the chief of Topshop had sexual allegations against him. So she pulled her line back, bought her shares, and now has complete ownership of her company. And then she took it to Adidas in November the 2018. So shout out to her for being the sole owner and solo controller of her product line, and showing, the fashion industry that our purchasing power and our ideas and our brands matter. So that's my quick art and fashion segment. And now we're going to transition into our love segment. Bob there. If you are just tuning in on Instagram Live, I want to remind you that if you go to my Facebook Live, you can watch the show from the front facing. That way you'll be able to see my guests. You'll be able to see any photos that come up. Transition to my Facebook Live. You can stay here and be behind the scenes, and you'll be able to listen in on the conversation. But without further ado, I want to reintroduce my special guest, Miss Lisa Daughtry, the founder of Be My Keeper. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Shavonda. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for agreeing to join me. And you know what? I learned something new. You didn't tell me as we were talking about the show. I saw on your Instagram today. Today is National Authors Day, and
yes.
You also have a writing project out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so we got to include that in the talk. So first, let's start from the beginning about how you came into the work of being a mental health advocate.
Okay, so 2012, I lost my son to suicide. He died by suicide. And so from that, it was like, it happened in May. That school year, I initiated with the principal to do a pilot for the school, for just the 11th grade and 12th graders. From that, it just basically blossomed to where the school wanted to do for the 9th and 12th grade. Mm-hmm. So we collaborated on that. We presented it to the Alexandria school board, and then they approved it for the entire school system for mm-hmm. Alexandria, Virginia. Mm-hmm. I became a board member for American Foundation Suicide Prevention, and did a lot of work with them for 2 years as a board member. But I really felt like there's had to be so much more done in a grassroots for the Black community. Mm-hmm. And because during that time, I noticed when I tell people, I tell them, or they ask me what did I do and so forth, and I come up with the mental health advocate conversation, some people were still a little bit, let's just say they're not well knowledgeable that Blacks, Afro-American, and people of diverse culture can, and they do die by suicide. And it's for Black male, it is the third for leading cause. Women are right behind as far as Black females. So overall, I'm a mental health advocate, but right now I'm focused on as far as continuing doing things in the community for our people.
So, okay, I need to ask you a question. Mm-hmm. Now, first of all, you just shared something with me that I had no idea about, that it's the third leading cause. Mm-hmm. Is it the third leading cause of death, or are they the third highest among suicide?
It's the third leading cause for Black males.
Wow.
It is number 5 as far as the United States, but third for Black males. And people don't understand that. The statistics will show you as far as there is an increase, even though it is a white male, white female, statistics-wise. Yeah. Right. However, you look further into statistics as far as the increase as far as in Black males is third.
Wow, that's really eye-opening.
Right.
Now I want to ask you a question, because you said that when you lost your son, mm-hmm. immediately started this foundation or this work in his school.
Right.
Where did that come from? Because I can't even imagine.
So what happened was during his vigil, they held a vigil at his school, and instead of it being an auditorium, it was so large they had it outside. Mm-hmm. And I remember his peers were inboxing me, or they're sometimes posting my Facebook, and they were just going through a lot. I mean, it was 2 weeks before graduation, 2 weeks after prom. So he went to the prom,
Mm.
and I just was like, went into mother mode, and I just said, hey guys, whoever need a hug from me, I'll be here at the vigil. And we had the vigil start at sunset. It was basically pitch black out in the field, and I was still hugging children. It was a line of them. And
Wow.
I said, you know what? It just can't stop right here. It has to
Mm.
go take a couple of steps further. So I made a phone call to the principal, and met with administration staff, and they was like, let's do it. And usually most schools will, back then, 2012, most schools are like, oh, we don't have time for it. No, they was like, we will make time for this.
Yes.
Because I said, I'm getting testimonies from kids, while I'm at my son's visual, and they're telling me, like, I'm the buffer for them right now.
Mm.
It's the only person that they can probably understand me right now is this woman who lost her son.
Mm.
So
Wow. So first of all, kudos to that school who they kind of were on the
yeah,
forefront. You see a lot of schools now starting to put social emotional
right,
learning as a really priority in schools,
right,
especially as you start to see more press and more information about
right.
younger children committing and attempting suicide. And so you started this movement. And then after you did that, you became a part of the boards. And so how did you transition to doing this sort of work on your own? So is the school
Um,
still doing this?
but I didn't hear you. What did you say?
I asked you two questions. Is the
Uh,
school still continuing with their work?
um, they have the curriculum as far as it's part of the students' health subject.
Okay.
So it's included in that.
Okay.
That's what, and at the same time, the Alexandria School Board had incorporated other things as far as they have more counselors on board.
Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful thing about it is that they just didn't focus on the students, they focus on the teachers, because teachers also, you know, they dealing with stress as well. And then we had set up where we met with the parents, those who
Mm-hmm.
wanted to volunteer and come, after work. We had a time as far as to talk to them.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was so funny. I had one student, he wasn't having mental problems, but he recognized the signs that his mom was dealing with depression.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So from there, that pilot worked so well that, like, once we did our first session, it was so funny. You had a student who would call and say, "Hey, I'm having these issues," or as soon as we done like I had like 6 sessions in a day.
Mm.
And I remember, as soon as that session was over, I would have students come up to me and say, "Thank you, and can I talk to somebody?"
Mm.
So,
Mm.
but what I guess pivoted me to leave American Foundation Suicide Prevention. There's nothing wrong with but I remember I was in Florida coming home, and I needed a break because also at the time I was a caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Mm.
my mom had spent 4 months basically in the hospital. It was a trying time, very stressful.
Yeah.
And it's long story, and it's going to be in the book. But long story short, I never did tell her that how she lost her grandson. I just told her that he was sick because my mom was going through dementia.
Okay.
But on my way, got a phone call from the radio station, WHUR, that they wanted me to come to be a panel on mental health discussion. So the organization I was board member for were there, and I said, well, let me just clear it and make sure that I'm able to do this, with them. And I
Mm.
remember we met before going to the radio station, and at the time the director said that he didn't understand why I needed to be there because it was covered, and I'm speaking my truth.
Yeah. No. Go ahead.
um,
That's what you're here to do, right?
Speaking my truth. And he said, no one would know that you are Black. And basically because I was the only board member who was of color, a Black woman on board. The others were Caucasian. Let's just put
Uh-huh.
it that way. So his thing was he was intimidated that because they called me to join them instead of them being satisfied with just two members. But if you're going to an urban radio station, uh, they want to make sure the viewers have somebody they can relate to.
Right. And they want to be able to speak to, they want somebody who can speak directly to the needs of the
Exactly,
audience.
exactly. So when he made that comment, I was just like, okay, I
Yeah.
need to, I need to make a decision on what I'm going to do next. And it's like I've already addressed to them that hey, you need to have representation for the Muslim, for people from diverse cultures, from Black African Americans, from Spanish, so forth. And when he made that comment, I was just like, okay, I need to take a step back and see where I'm going to go forward. And I said, you know what, this is something that I'm very passionate about and I'm driven about. And I was like, this is not going to stop me, but I just want to make sure the direction I go, I'm still helping my people first
Right.
because we still need to have that exposure where we can have open dialogue about mental health.
Let me ask you a question. So, what do you see as like it? I think the more we talk about it, we know it's clear that, like you said, representation matters and the
Mm-hmm.
conversations matter. What do you see as the unique needs of the Black community versus why doesn't uh, just a generalized organization speak to us? What are the unique circumstances that for us?
I and I guess because the where we are right now dealing with who we have in administration and prior to, we have corporations that they don't have a filter as far as someone that understands as far as urban. How do you address urban issues or um, people of color? And I
Mm.
say diverse culture. And I remember when we did our retreat, the first retreat I went on, I was like, first thing you need to do is change these brochures. I mean, I see I see someone in the faded back of this brochure, but what I see is a person who is Caucasian. I don't see someone that looks like me.
Mm.
And if you want to be diverse, as far as an organization, you need to have it where it represents everyone
Right.
because suicide has no color. It has no boundaries as far as race, gender, economics. Um, and, prime example, fashion designer Kate Spade,
Mm.
Alexandra McQueen.
Mm.
They made plenty of money, but at the same time, no one knew that they were dealing with depression.
Right.
So um, I just felt like, I need to basically make sure that we have an open dialogue
Mm.
always. And
Do you
and
find, do you find even today, so as more and more strides are being made in having the conversations, do you still find that when you talk to people, there's still a lot of um, ignorance, and by ignorance, I don't mean it in a
right,
derogatory way, I mean a lack
I
of
got you.
information. You still find
Mhm.
that people you run across people who still are like really brand new to the conversation.
It's not brand new. I think people are scared, and one reason why they're scared is, especially now. Now we've been 7 months in a pandemic, and at prior to that, social media was entertaining. A place where we come, but also social media has become a place where people hide behind
Mm-hmm.
a laptop and they're bullying people.
Mm-hmm.
But just imagine you're in person and someone wants to talk about something that's very emotional for them, but someone says something very negative about an issue. People close up and they're afraid now because it's like, what would this person, and one thing I hear people say, I'm afraid of what people are going to think about me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't make it normal.
Right, right. And I think one of the things as a community that we had normalized in the past was like being quiet and silent about your issues or your struggles, even though the person in the house next door to you is going through the same thing.
Yeah,
We're taught you don't take your business outside the house.
exactly.
So now we're trying to, and we're still stuck in that mindset of like, I'm afraid what people will think about me, not knowing that the person next door is suffering the same or sometimes worse.
hmm And there's different levels of people dealing with depression. Some people, if it's a very low level as far as depression, people can pull themselves out of it. But then you have people who spiral down into that rabbit hole. And
Mm-hmm.
once you're in that rabbit hole, unless you have the type of support or you're willing to say, hey, I need to get help. Some people will just keep spiraling down until they close out everybody. And that's like one of the signs where people are sleeping more. Like I would tell people when they asked me about their children or, what it was the signs. And I said, sometimes your child is, what my son used to do, and I didn't know until later on, is he would go to the nurse a lot at school.
Mm-hmm.
And so the nurse would call me and say, Miss Daughtry, he's not feeling well. And it's something she would take seriously because she was like, oh, he might have an ulcer. So I was like, okay, make an appointment, take him to the doctor. But that's because your body is telling you, hey, I'm at a stressing point right now. So now it's going to affect my body.
Mm-hmm.
And it does, where it's their sleep deprivation. Sometimes they just have no interest. It's to the point they're hopeless, or they just feel like, okay, no one's going to understand me, and they just shut people out. So it's just different types of levels as far as, like I said, as far as depression. But I think but that's why I keep pushing it, because I want people to have an open dialogue and be able to be comfortable and talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
So what I'm hearing you saying is like there could be signs, right? So like the sleeping habits, the like I'm not feeling well. Are there any other signs that either a person could recognize for themselves or someone that they love or are living with, that they're just displaying some of these kinds of symptoms that would make you just say, hey, let's talk. How are you feeling? I read today that we should stop saying, how are you, and start saying, how are you feeling?
Yeah. The body language, sometimes you can tell a person, who's been upbeat, and next minute is like, the way they slouch, or it's just, sometimes people will just get in the bed in a fetal position. They're not communicating with you. They're not having eye contact with you. Like I said, sometimes it's internal, stomach pain, heart, palpitations. It's just many things. And some people just look at it like, hey, I just didn't notice it. And like you said, we need to stop saying, hey, hey, how was your day? And really tune in and say, okay, she hasn't been saying a lot lately. I just want to know, is she okay? And just say, hey, let's talk. What's been going on? Tell me. Let's have this, heart to heart talk. But it's like we have to stop shaming people, or making fun.
That's the worst. That's the worst. What I noticed, and when you say that, when you talked about the low grade, I was watching something, and Michelle Obama was saying that she noticed that she was experiencing a low grade depression, because it seems like a lot of people right now in the pandemic and with the political climate, a lot of people, especially Black people and people of color, are experiencing trauma after trauma after trauma, and it's having an impact on their mental and emotional health.
Yeah. Since I've been working at home, I've now I'll say this, you and your husband has motivated me even more. Because like weekends, I designate as like it's my self-care time. And my self-care consists of, if I haven't worked out during the week, on weekends, it's like push, 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 because that helps me feel better about myself. I'm cycling, so I'm part of this cycling on the weekends. I just bought some skates, and hopefully I don't fall on my face. But it's, I would say this, and you see my journey. Even though I went through losing my son, grieving, and then being a caregiver, dealing with stress and anxiety and everything, I became an emotional eater. That's another thing. Some people either eat less or eat more. I need comfort food, and I had to look at myself and say, Lisa, you're eating at times when you're not supposed to be eating, or you're eating stuff that you're not supposed to be eating, and it affected my health. I mean, my health plummets down to, it was like the doctor was like, okay, what are we doing? What do you need to do? And I just couldn't focus, because I was like, I went from losing my son, now my mom having dementia, her going through, just being a caretaker, but yet at the same time, I could not take care of myself. I had to focus on family, and it was like right after, because she passed away 2017, and I said, okay, I'm going to take care of myself, because if not, I'm not going to be here long. And I realized, okay, you're eating because you're trying to find comfort because of anxiety, because most of us have anxiety attacks and we just don't know about it. And sometimes anxiety can elevate to where we have PTSD. So I've had PTSD, and I manage where now I'm aware of what triggers me. So
and so did you get that did you learn those things through therapy? Did you kind of go through your own self-help journey, or did you go see a therapist?
I went to see a therapist. I've had a therapist periodically in my life, just dealing with certain things. But when it came to when I lost my son, one of my girlfriends, she pulled me, because she was like, you were like a machine, like you were just, but I knew you were having anxieties. And she said, she said, just make sure you sign up. You just call and get your therapist. And it was very helpful, very helpful.
Listen, I think that's the biggest thing that we as a community can help each other with, is just starting to come out and say, hey, I went to see a therapist.
And there's nothing wrong with seeing a therapist.
Nothing. Listen, you know what I tell people? You can go, there's nowhere else that somebody has to listen to you talk about yourself for a whole hour.
Right.
What's off of that? Like the fact that you have a captive audience who's going to listen to you talk about yourself for an hour and like be on your side and be there to help you. Like you can go to the bar and talk to the bartender about your problems, but the bartender ain't going to help you. And once the drinks stop flowing, the problems are still there.
Oh, yeah.
You can talk to your friends, but sometimes you and your friends are sort of in the same boat, and nobody knows how to start running.
And that's why I always stress to people, I said, I get it that it's great to have a support group, and make sure your support group within your support group is healthy. Each one of you have acknowledge and know, hey, I have some things I need to take care of. I'm just here to check on you. But when two broken people are trying to help each other, it doesn't,
somebody, you got to get another person to help you.
Right.
Steer the car in the right direction.
Exactly. You need a designated driver. You need a designated driver to basically ensure that the two people in the back that needs to help, get to where they're going. So I would say, and I stress this to people, because I said, when I hear people, I'm like, sometimes I can't vent to my friends. I need to call my therapist and say, hey, I need to get a tune-up. I need to talk to you. And now that mental health is such, priority now, and it's probably January 2021, it will be just, we will basically definitely need it even more. Hopefully, Lord, November the 3rd, we'll know. but but I would say this, that for me, therapy helped me so much. I went to therapy sometimes to understand people that were toxic to me, narcissistic, just sometimes I had to have someone tell me, okay, you're going to have to let that person go.
Mm-hmm.
Or me understand why that person acted way, then I know I have to let that person go.
Mm-hmm.
That affects your mental health as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Having healthy people around you.
Yeah.
And if that person can't go along for the next level of the journey.
Oh, yeah. And it could be family and friends, I'm telling you.
Yeah. And I think, too, the therapy will sometimes, even if you can't let the person go because they're your family,
you can love them from afar.
Or how to deal with them, how to establish your boundaries that keep you emotionally safe or emotionally balanced. Like, and a lot of times in our community, we have, our dysfunctions tend to be codependent, and like we have to pull one another along so that we can succeed as a community. But as we do that, we got to understand how to deal with the people who are in our midst, because we can't be an island, but we got to know how to set our own boundaries and understand, like you said, what our triggers are. So when, hey, you treading on my areas, or like, who was like, you on my baby toe right now, I need you to back off.
But you said it. It's boundaries. We have to. Everyone has to set boundaries for themselves.
Yeah, but you gotta go to understand what those boundaries are.
And I would say this: people are into life coaches. I have not a problem with you having a life coach, but first you need to your mental being is a machine. It has to learn how to operate on a daily basis. You need to make sure that machine is working and is fine-tuned. A therapy is a must first. Life coaches are there to help you as far as like career development or, whatever they specialize, but they are not there to substitute what a therapist is supposed to be there for. So, and I have friends, in network that are life coaches and therapists, and I've heard a conversation. They'll say, you know what, that person needs to have therapy first before they deal with me being their life coach.
Interesting.
And it's a must.
It's not a substitute. I love it. I love that. And so you mentioned a little bit about self-care and your self-care routine. And so one of the things that I noticed is that we look at social media, and I think people are trying to share messages and share some of their journey, but like in a social media way. So we see a lot of talking about self-care. I think that it's a good thing, but what I learned is that self-care means a lot of things, and sometimes, and it goes a little bit deeper than just giving yourself a facial and taking a bath.
Exactly. Sometimes self-care,
but it's got to be a little bit more than that.
Sometimes self-care means no, I can't. Sometimes self-care means, hey, I need to shut down and take care of me for me. I need a quiet time. And with so much that I'm doing, I had to designate like weekends to be for me, because Monday through Friday, I'm up about 5 o'clock in the morning. And at times I'm not done till 9 because, besides working, being a founder for my own organization, I'm a director for a Black women's wellness nonprofit organization as well, doing their marketing work. But it's like, Lisa, you gotta find balance.
Yeah. Because while you're working on behalf of all these people, you got to stop and turn around and remember to do it for yourself.
Yes.
Now, one of the things that I noticed, one of the things that I did for self-care is that, and I'm saying it now on the show, but like I stopped drinking. And for me, it didn't at first occur to me, but as I started kind of going through that process, it became a form of self-care in a whole different way, because now I am analyzing my own way of socializing, or I am, thinking about, like, if I had a glass of wine after work, right? Like, now if I come home from work, what is it that I want to do? Like, what is it that is important in priorities, or like, what are other things that I do to find enjoyment, to find relaxation, to find peace of mind, or like a break from stress? That helped me to strengthen and develop other ways of interacting and coping and relaxing.
But you say something, because when I lost my son, I didn't want to babysit cocktails or, because all that it just covers the pain temporarily. You're going to wake up in the morning, you still got to address it. And even though what the productive things that I was doing in my life, as far as being a mental health advocate and, being a speaker and so forth, I still was trying to find my footing as far as finding peace, finding being able to understand how to deal with my anxieties, my PTSD, as well as how am I going to move forward, because now I lost something that meant the world to me. So it's like, how do I continue to get up in the morning and function, not just function, but live. Let's just put it that way. I want to live. And I'll say this, when he passed away in August that year, I celebrated my 45th birthday. And I remember I jumped out of a plane. I skydived.
Wow.
And I did that because I felt, those first few months, I felt suffocation. I felt, like this heaviness, this weight, everything was on me. And I said, I just need to breathe. I actually need to feel like I'm alive or living. And I remember it was something I had promised him once he had graduated, that, we're going to jump out of the plane. He just looked at me like, you're right, Mom. Okay. But I was like, no, this, you and me, we're going to do this. And I remember I was just like, what am I going to do? I'm sitting there and I was like, I remember talking to his best friend. He said, Mom, what you going to do? I said, I think I'm going to jump out of a plane. And he said, do it, Mom, do it. His best friends were like, Mom, do it. And I said, okay. I said, I hope I don't chicken out. And it was such a peaceful jump. To other people, I'm telling you, I was watching people ahead of me, nervous, scared. And my girlfriend looked at me and she said, you all right? Because she said, you just haven't, you're not reacting. And I was just like, yeah, it's okay. I'm good. Right. And when I jumped out the plane, you could hear me laughing all the way down.
Okay, are you scared of heights?
Let me tell you. Yes, in a way, yeah and no. I don't know. I have to have a crazy adrenaline for me to just go ahead. Now I've done zip lining.
Okay.
And I've done it in Mexico, where you're zip lining on top of the trees, and that was fine. I did zip lining somewhere in Maryland. I took the wrong course, and I was so mad at myself. I was like, I didn't want to climb a tree to get to the next level.
Okay.
And I had to that's what I said, I have to mentally talk to myself like, girl, you did this. Okay, just go ahead and do it. Just go ahead.
Out of a plane, you can never be scared of anything heights. But you had a peace because you knew it was something that you had shared with him, and it was a way to snap.
Right. Right.
Like you said, I didn't live again.
It was like, wow. I mean, I enjoyed myself. And it's like, everybody said, what you going to do next? Somebody was like, you going to do shark in a tank? I was like, no, I'm not doing no shark in no tank. I said, but I said, I probably will. I said, once, I was telling somebody, I said, once we could travel a little bit, I want to do skydiving in different locations, not just here, but abroad. I mean, I love it, but it just made me, it put me in a different perspective once I did that.
Or what you can do to experience life in a different kind of way.
Right, exactly.
And I think to tie that into like mental health is like people developing coping skills, especially now in the pandemic. Like it's hard. You can find yourself getting stuck in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the house all day long with that TV or that social media can do a job on your mind, your emotional state too. So thinking about how can I get outside? How can I move my body? How can I get out of my comfort zone?
Right.
Try new things and give your brain a reset.
Right. Mm-hmm. Like every day, I think even starting from March, I would just get up and go walking. I have 2 dogs, but I'll walk, do a lot of walking, because I was like, I cannot stay in the house. Even when I was at work, my lunch break was taken where I go and do cardio when I was physically at the building. So I was like, no, I'm not. At first I was like, I'm okay. But once when they were like, okay, we're going to shut down, we're going to wait for till this, phase, we get to phase 1. And I felt the anxiety because I was like, okay, what do I do now? Because going to the grocery store, being upset because I can't find this, find that. But it was like, I learned how to juice. That's one thing I learned. I have a juicer, so I've been doing organic juices. That's been helping me, and especially in meditating. So I do a lot of meditating every day in the morning, at night, sometimes midday. Sometimes it's just taking 10 to 15 minutes out of my working day and just doing breathing techniques.
Yes. I found myself, if it wasn't for my app, and like I found myself like, why am I feeling like my chest was feeling tight? And then I realized I wasn't breathing.
Yeah.
Now you thinking, of course you're breathing because you would die if you don't breathe, but there's that deep breath, deep cleansing, like it's you're sitting there holding your breath. So people who are feeling that tightness, that's one thing you can do is just in deep breaths where they go all the way down into your stomach and all the way out. So I wanna be able to make sure that our viewers and listeners, because people who are on live, they can't see you.
Right.
What would you say are like the top 3 things or some resources that people should tap into to support their journey of mental health, or to if they see someone else? Like, what is this something that you would share with them?
So, people can take like a first aid. It's called first aid mental health, and it helps you recognize. Well, first understand mental health, and then help you recognize as far as when someone is dealing with, basically dealing with crisis, if it's small, big. But you'll notice certain things about an individual. Also, for those who are dealing with mental health, journal your journey as far as what you're dealing with. I would say, because you'll go back and read it. Sometimes you need to make a list and note, hey, something I want to accomplish from what I've journaled, and just start taking baby steps as far as getting better. Therapy is a must. So I would say telehealth, because now, unless guidelines, you can see your therapist face to face, but most everything is done by telehealth now. I would say for people of color, you can go to a website, and it is in my link. I have a Linktree link where where it's designated for women of color to look to find a therapist.
Your social media is _,
right,
Phoenix Rising.
Right. So when you go to the profile, you'll see a link. You can go into that link, and the link would basically show you where you can if you're looking for a therapist, a black male therapist or a female therapist. I'm also working to get as far as dealing with from the Latin community, diverse cultures as well. I'm trying to get that database together as well, because sometimes we can relate better to somebody who looks like me. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah. I remember I had years ago. I had a therapist. She was white. And I told her, I said, I really can't. You cannot relate to me, because I'm listening to her and I'm like, no, not saying what her explanation, but I was like, you can't. It's like you can't relate to me.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's a really important thing. Once you find, if you're on this journey of finding a therapist, it's okay to like know that the therapist, it's okay to be selective, to try to find. Now, if it's an emergency, you get in and you kind of talk to a person that can help you get through a crisis. But in the meantime, advocate for yourself and say, like, if this person doesn't meet your needs,
Exactly.
go ahead and
Find another therapist.
find another therapist. So before we go, I want to make sure. So we were talking at the beginning about. So you have the Be My Keeper Foundation,
Right?
Tell me a little bit about that, and tell me a little bit about your book.
Okay. So, Be My Keeper, basically, it's a campaign, a nonprofit organization dealing with mental health. I have done like certain events, and I think, Sharonda, have you been to one of my events last year?
No, because my father got sick.
Yeah. So last year I did men and women, so like panel events. I've done like human trafficking, dealing also topics of self-care. So 2 years in a row I've done Rovember for men, and it's basically exclusively for men only. This year we're not doing it because of the pandemic, having face to face. So I'm launching mental health apparel for so people can get t-shirts, sweatshirts, whatever, but it's basically dealing with mental health. Also having a wellness product I'm launching this month, so people will be able to get like self-care products for themselves, things that I've done, that I use. And but so next year hopefully we'll just see how it is. This year it's just been a lesson learned as far as dealing with the COVID, because last year I was very proactive as far as just continue to having self-discussion as far as restoration for women, as far as for mental health, public health for men. So it's like this year it's like, okay, what's the lesson learned as far as what Lisa's going to do with Be My Keeper next year? So
everybody has to figure out how to get the new space. So tell me about your book really quickly.
Okay, so I'm writing. Also, I'm in a writer's workshop with Kevin Powell. He's an author and political advocate, and so he's been having a workshop every Tuesday, which has been very therapeutic.
We like Kevin Powell.
Yes, it's been very therapeutic because I have so many journals where I've written, but I stop, and I'll say why I stop is because when I'm writing can be painful. And it's not a bad painful, but it's just because once I read my work, I'm like, wow, it's like I've taken a relief off, but at the same time, it's like, whew, that's draining. That was draining to read that. It was deep. And I stopped because, my mom got sick. When it comes to our parents, we have to take care of them. So he's been teaching us, and he's been our mentor, and it's been very therapeutic where now I'm back to writing. Hopefully I can finish this within a few months where I'll have the book out. But it's just basically my journey as far as dealing with self-care, dealing with being a caretaker, dealing with grieving, because I guess for me, we read other people that are not Black, that are not of color as far as their books. We can relate, but then we don't. We need somebody. We need to have some stories that we really can relate to.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I think a lot of people are crying out for right now in general. Just like you said, representation across every field, representation across every genre. We need to be able to see and hear stories from people who look like us and have experienced the things that we've experienced, so then we can feel that sense of connection. So I am really, really glad that you were able to come on today and share your story, share some tips. Go to _Phoenix Rising to click on your link for resources if you're trying to find a therapist. We are going to keep our eyes open for your book, because I'm going to be touching and agree that you're going to finish this book and bring this thing to the marketplace, because there's so many people who need to be able to hear those stories and feel that, I'm not alone.
Right.
And hopefully we'll be able to get, your events will be back on board. November. I love it.
Yeah. I organize it, but I have therapist Paul Williams and Robert Gooden. They are the hosts. They are the faces. However, as far as I'm the brainchild dealing with it, but I wanted a place, a safe haven where men can just sit and talk about not just their public health or, financials, but their mental health. And it's so funny because it's like, I come, I greet them, and then I leave, and, 3 hours later, I come back, just to say thank you for attending. But to see the gratification on their faces, it's a beautiful thing to see men really having a conversation about their mental health.
Yeah, it's needed. It's needed. And you share some really eye-opening statistics with us. And then so I would say, if you are in any kind of relationship with a man, whether it's father, brother, son, just being sensitive and aware that mental and emotional health is not just a white person's thing, it's not a woman's thing. Our brothers, our husbands, our fathers need that kind of support as well, and also our children, and really authentically listening to our kids, as well as authentically listening to our kids.
If anyone has any questions, or please reach out to me. I do have people who are some resources as far as individual who can probably assist them, but I don't want people to say, okay, I went here and I just don't know what to do next, so.
Yes. Okay. So you guys heard it. Reach out to her. Her name is Lisa Daughtry at _Phoenix Rising. She can connect you to people, to resources to take the next steps for support.
Yeah.
That is.
Thank you, Sharonda.
Time went by so fast. Thank you so much, Lisa, for coming. We'll have to have you come out again, so we can continue this conversation, because it's so needed. And hopefully we'll, be able to connect at another event, and when the world opens up, or some virtual event that we can pull together to just continue to support each other, and bring other people into the conversation.
Can I just say this? I know we're like maybe 2 days left. I want people to really go out there and vote.
Yeah.
Please understand, I'm blessed to basically be in a position where it's not affecting me directly. I do have a job and so forth. However, I'm advocating for those who are not able to. For the elderly, for the homeless people, and for those who are not financially able to do as well. I mean, this is not the administration to just sit back and just say, okay, we can ride this again another 4 years, because he is basically trying to demolish the government. And I'm sorry, I'm being very political about it, but we've got to vote, people. If you haven't done early voting, please go and vote. Yes, please stand in the line.
Somebody else. If you already voted, check to see if your neighbor voted, especially the old folks in your neighborhood, or like you said, somebody who can't necessarily get to the polls. Go take somebody to the polls, but get to the polls. Don't try to mail nothing in, because it's too late.
No, drop it off at the polling location. Don't drop it off in no mail. Drop it off at the polling location, please.
Or bring your little seat and sit your butt out there and bring your snacks, and you're just gonna have to wait.
I will be trying to bring some coffee out there. I'll be checking some polls out, because I'm serious. I want everybody to be out there. If we need to kumbaya, if I need to bring you a blanket, whatever. But please,
okay, there you go.
Do what you got to do for
Do your
us.
civic duty. Do your civic duty. Do your ancestral duty. Pay it back for what our ancestors did for us.
Yes.
Not just only Black people, but our Native brothers and sisters. We need to go vote for them. We need to go vote for returning citizens whose rights have been taken away from them. We need to be voting, like you said, for the voiceless as well. So that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
Close out our Sunday with Miss Lisa Daughtry. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for tuning into another edition of Art Loves Fashion. If you missed the live stream today, you can go onto my YouTube, Sharonda Davila-Irving, and you can catch today's episode and all of the previous episodes that we've had. And definitely like, tag, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you next Sunday with another edition of Art Loves Fashion. Have a blessed week, everyone. Keep breathing.
Welcome to Art Loves Fashion. I'm your host, Sharonda Irving. I'm an image consultant, professional developer, art curator and collector, a wife and a mom. This show, Art Loves Fashion, is about, you guessed it, art, love, and fashion. We'll be meeting new people, trying interesting things, and hopefully learning something new. Sounds kind of vague, right? That's because I want you to join me on Sundays at 5 o'clock as we take a journey of all things creative and beautiful with art, loves, fashion.